This is the HomeTech Podcast for Friday, June 17th. From Sarasota, Florida, I'm Seth Johnson.
From Powell, Ohio, I'm TJ Huddleston.
And from Pickering, Ontario, I'm Gavin Campbell.
And welcome to the HomeTech Podcast, a podcast about all aspects of home technology and home automation. We've got a couple of news stories that have come up over the last week when we were off. I guess I was off. You guys were like, let's record a show. And I'm like, I'm in Scotland with really, really bad internet.
We could have recorded it, just giving you all the hard work of editing the show and posting it up and everything. So just be lucky we didn't.
Yeah. I decided to take a little trip, and the internet there was not reliable. I was in the best place I had internet. Like, I would go to hotels and they're like, oh, we have Wi-Fi internet, whatever. It's like, it's never all that great. And I went to one hotel and they're like, here's a QR code that you can scan and it'll let you join and add the password in and all that stuff. So I scanned it with the QR code reader and got all the password stuff out of it like a normal person would, and went to log onto it and it just doesn't work. We got in late. So then I went downstairs, and these are like lodges in the middle of Scotland, right? So went downstairs to talk to them about it, and they're like all the lights are off, no one's there. I'm like, okay, well, I guess I'll bring this up in the morning. And so, yeah, the Wi-Fi, it gets a thumb down from me from that. The best Wi-Fi I had was a BT, I guess that's British Telecom, I'm not sure, but it was a DSL connection that I tried to run the speed test on, and it would just crash. So it was reliable in that it worked, but it was not great, not fast. So I don't think we could have actually recorded a show, even if we tried. And if you guys had recorded a show and sent me some files, I would have just looked at them and laughed. Like, it wasn't going to happen.
Yeah, you messed up. I think you have to go with cellular while you're over there. I remember when I traveled there, several years ago at this point, mobile cell phone service was like super cheap for, how many gigabytes you got and everything. But I guess you probably weren't over there long enough to really buy a SIM card or need a SIM card.
I probably could have done that.
But I had the same issue though when I was over there. So sounds like it's not gotten a lot better.
No, it hadn't gotten any better. I guess I could have done the I didn't even think about that, because the AT&T stuff is like, well, it's $10 a day and you get unlimited, whatever. So you don't have to think about it. That's one thing. But that service wasn't all that great either. So it wasn't until I got back into Canada, lovely Canada, until I got like the 5G speeds back. But everything over there was LTE. And then there was one town I was in. It wasn't 5G. It wasn't 3G. It was just G. I don't even know what that was. I just got G service. So
okay.
Thanks. It was pretty useless. But yeah, I wouldn't do that. My travel tech kit that I normally bring here in the States to like hotels and that kind of thing worked okay. There was a lot of like adapters I had to have, because they use the different power stuff over there for their plugs and whatnot. And everything I had, I just double checked to make sure it was like the dual power supplies, and it was all fine. But my little travel router that I was like, oh, I'm going to use this for VPN to get back to all like Plex and all my stuff at home. I was having problems at the first place that we stayed at, right? And I was like, well, it must be a problem with this router. Let me just reset it. And I reset it, and it deleted all my VPN settings out of it. Which it turns out the reason I couldn't connect was because I had a VPN turned on my phone. So it was screwing up connecting locally to the whatever. I got all that worked out, and then just had the router that wouldn't connect to the Wi-Fi that didn't work. And then when I went down and talked to the guy in the morning, he was like, huh, that's weird. It usually works. And that was the end of the conversation. So off to explore the wilderness of Scotland we went.
You need to add like a portable Starlink thing to your travel kit now, so that you walk with your own internet as well.
That would be amazing. Just more junk to pack, though. I don't think it would have fit in my bag that I went over with. Because we challenged ourselves to actually not check any luggage. I guess, so we went with all carry-ons for what was a week, I guess. It wasn't terrible. But I had to fit everything into a backpack and a carry-on for the week. Anyway, let's get into some home tech stuff, though, not travel tech. We've got a note on here. Sonos voice, are you using it? ? And I would say not me, because I haven't been home, but also I don't have any microphones in my Sonos product. So
Yeah, this is one of the few products I've added to the household that the wife has asked me to put it into other rooms, so we can use Sonos voice. I think it's a great feature to what we already have. And it works great. I only use it for like 2 or 3 things though. It's always the grouping, ungrouping, and stopping speakers in different areas. And that alone is worth it for me. So I'm interested to see if anybody else is using it and what their thoughts of it are so far. My only negative about it is, and I think it's a bug because I was just talking to Gavin about it before the show. For some reason, my Sonos Arc will like mute itself for like 30 seconds after it issues its command. So it just keeps the TV audio super low down to where you can't hear anything. And it lasts a good 30, 45 seconds. It feels like forever. I'll have to time it one time and see. But we've rebooted the Sonos devices and the network and all that good stuff, and it's still there. So I'm assuming it's just some weird bug with just my Sonos.
And since the day they released it, there's only 2 commands I've used on it. And I use them almost every day. And that was, hey, Sonos, turn on night mode or turn on voice enhancement. And the only reason I use those 2 commands is they can't be mapped to anything on my remote. So I now don't have to take out the app and turn those on and off. I can actually just tell Sonos to do it now. And those are the 2 most valuable commands to me.
Nice. Yeah, see, I didn't even know that was like a thing or an option because I always just left my, night enhancement or speech enhancement on all the time because I just don't want to open the app to turn it on or off. So it just stays the same, whatever it's been on forever. So I'll probably use the Sonos voice to do that now.
And you see, that's like a bad design. If it gets to a point where you don't even want to use the app to turn on and off and you'd rather go with inferior quality, right? That's a bad design. They should at least allow it to be mapped to a button on the remote. But I'm just happy to have it with the Hey Sonos now.
Yeah, that's nice.
yeah, I'm in the same position. I wish they could have like a little, maybe you could just assign it to a button on one of the devices or something. You can turn it on and off. But I turn it off, and then my wife is like, "Wow, it's really loud in here." It's like operating as it's supposed to be. And then I go and turn on the compression and turn on the night mode or whatever. And yeah, it doesn't. I don't like it as much, but I don't know. It kind of is what it is. Especially when we have a child that we would like to have sleeping at 7:00 who doesn't go to sleep, and we just kind of want to keep it down. So you have to do what you got to do. Anyway, you guys ready to jump into some HomeTech headlines?
Let's do it.
All right. Well, I know we had some big announcements while I was gone, and I think the biggest one here is new firmware update for Habitat. Gavin, I'm joking. This isn't the biggest news of the week, but it's something we thought was interesting. We throw it on here. Gavin,
I like how you laughed with that one. I was like, he's really saying this is the biggest announcement of the week. No, it's a quick announcement. Habitat released a new firmware this week. It introduces a lot of bug fixes. A new app called Room Lighting, which is a really powerful control over rooms and automations and lighting and stuff like that. And also native Bond integration, which Bond is something allows you to control devices using not IR but RF. So I use the Bond hub to control my fireplace, for example. So it's nice to see it's native now. So make sure you go get it. And if you haven't done this yet, upgrade the Z-Wave firmware. It's a different upgrade. Just figure out where you have to go to do that. Make sure you update that because it makes a significant difference with Z-Wave as well.
Yeah, the Bond device is really cool because it like here in Florida, we have a ton of those canopy controls for your fans or whatever. And the Bond, if you get Bond, it's like a Bond bridge is like $100 or something like that. It's not much. You can plug that in and it'll control I think that's what they designed it for, is controlling the fans in those rooms. But it does a whole bunch of other stuff. Like I don't think they can do garage doors.
They can't.
I think
they can't, and they don't want to get into it.
I talked to the owner of this company long ago. I'm like, hey, my queue sucks. 2 garage doors. And he's like, yeah, we're talking to my queue. We're talking. I'm like, just do it. I mean, just, you will make so much money hand over fist. But yeah, I can understand why they don't want to do it, because I think in some locales or some situations you have to have like that light and sound or something that go off if you automate the doors. So probably doesn't work with their current product lineup, but it would be nice if they could support that. But if you got any weird RF devices, even blinds like shades and that kind of thing, I think you can add those into bond control. But they've got a huge, if you go to their website and look into their support documents, they've got a huge list of things that you can get done. Outdoor lighting, smart ceiling fan controls, just a bunch of stuff that this like RF device, dumb RF devices, this thing will control. It's kind of nice. It does more than you think, but yeah, it's a good addition to have into any smart home platform. I know that Home Assistant has it. I think they added that a little while back ago. I've seen that in their code. And it's good that Habitat's getting it.
No, there was a community integration for a while now, but the integrated integration for Bond is much better. It's much smoother. Instead of polling for the status of devices now, it kind of gets the status from Bond as it changes. So it's much easier on the network and on the hardware. So it's worth it if you're using the community version to switch over to the integrated one.
Yeah, and I see they added support for my new favorite devices, the Third Reality switch, that funky looking light switch cover that I posted in the chat the other day. I actually caught a funny interaction with the maintenance man the other day. He came in to look at my sink, and he was cursing out that we covered the light switch and he couldn't turn it on. I guess he couldn't see the small round button on the switch. And just didn't realize you could just push the button and the light switch would turn on. So I currently love them though, so a little on the ugly side.
Amazing. That's too funny. Well, there you go. Bond firmware updates, bug fixes, all that good stuff. And that room lighting control thing seems kind of cool. Anything that gives you better features and options for controlling things and it gives you more control over how you control them is a good thing. So let's move on. I think the biggest thing last week while I was gone was WWDC, which is Apple's developer focused conference. It's not even a hardware focused conference. And people always expect them to launch new hardware at this thing. Like literally every year there's rumors and it's like, dude, this is software. They're going to talk about software. And you have to like read between the lines to see what they're going to do in the future for hardware, because they announce the APIs and everything kind of for it and then kind of wink during their sessions when they're talking about programming for their devices that don't exist yet. So like that's what this is for. This big conference is for. I think they've done a couple of things or a couple of announcements in the past, but it was like Mac computers. And this one actually got new M2 Macs. One of them, which is like the Mac Air, I think got an M2 chip, which, I mean, okay. That's great. We all have M1s now. The M2 is next. 1 is smaller than 2. 2 is bigger than 1. They got the marketing right. That's what you're supposed to do. Yay. Good for you, I guess. I don't know. iOS got a bunch of updates, new spatial audio junk that you can have, new fitness features. iPad is getting a weather app. The year is 2022. I just checked. Yay. Good for iPad, finally getting a weather app. Let's see. Only thing we really care about is that new that HomeKit app and what it's going to do. It looks like Apple has decided that it's going to put some new skin and redesign the whole thing on there. So let's talk about that. First of all, Apple did say that they were basically going to make some changes to the underlying architecture in HomeKit and make it more, quote, faster, more reliable, and especially for homes with many smart accessories. So maybe they've figured out that when people add a bunch of stuff in to a HomeKit system, it kind of falls flat on its face. I don't know. Like when I look at how HomeKit is designed, a lot of these systems, not just HomeKit, like a lot of these systems, they're designed with developers who and this has been my experience sitting in the room with developers on smart home projects. It's like you have to focus your development for a specific target audience. And if you say we're going to target apartments and homes, under 2,500 square feet for our product, that tends to make a lot of the decisions that you have like hyper focus on that individual group. And when you get somebody who puts in 200 HomeKit devices on your system that was designed for 20, things can really fall flat on their face. So it sounds like Apple has found out that people like to have more HomeKit devices in their homes than 20 or 30. I don't know what their magic number that they were aiming for was, but and it sounds like in iOS 16 they'll have the option or have more reliable and performance driven a solution for people who are using HomeKit, which would be nice. Reliability is always great. When they add that in, I can't complain.
Yeah, you know what? I started off with HomeKit, and I've never been a fan of HomeKit since the beginning. I just found it was very basic for me personally, but I think it's a great ecosystem for people that just want something simple. So you just want a light to turn on with one simple automation. I recommend they just go with HomeKit because it just works, And like you said, if they have like 10 devices, it'll just work, and I always recommend that. But if you want something to be more powerful, this is where the problem comes in, is because when you get into home automation, you're always going to be trying to do more and more and more. You throw 3 switches here, you throw 5 switches here. Next thing you know, you have 40 switches, and then you're going to outgrow HomeKit. It gets expensive to switch at that point to another ecosystem, right? So I always want to like consider that too, is when I ask people is, do you see yourself doing a lot with this? Right. Because then, I take that into consideration as well, too, is because they'll come to you and they say, well, I want this to happen at this time of day when this switch is off and these people are home and this is all happening. And these, like some complicated thing. And I'll be like, you know what? HomeKit may not be the best thing for you then at that point. But
well, it's not just expensive to switch, but you also have to like say there's features on HomeKit that you get that you like.
Yeah.
That you've come to rely on. And you're like, okay, well, all the junk that I bought works with HomeKit, but also works with Habitat or also works with Smart Things or Home Assistant. Like I can switch over to all that, but I've got to learn this whole new ecosystem and interface. That I don't know. That's the priciest part of this, if you ask me. Like it's not
the relearning.
Yeah, relearning and losing out on features and. There's a couple of things I do in HomeKit that involve like the Shortcuts app because they integrated that a couple of years ago. That like you can bring in your HomeKit devices for automation in Shortcuts. It's not really a thing that most people do or get involved with.
Yeah,
but you can do it. And if you move away from the HomeKit ecosystem, those devices and those features that you were relying on that may only exist inside of Shortcuts because you're in that Apple ecosystem, or go away and you lose big features that way. I don't know. I think I've always liked the architecture that they have behind HomeKit here. I don't know. I don't think there's any reason to dissuade somebody from using it because you can get to more advanced features by using things like Shortcuts or things like the other HomeKit apps that really let you dig deeper into the what you can do with the product and the ecosystem. Because there are other apps. There's apps that have data stores that tie into HomeKit now. Like you can store chunks of data and state and share that between different HomeKit apps. It's wild what people have done with this HomeKit ecosystem. But you have to know, you really have to want to get involved with all that junk.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I think it's better. I think it's got longer legs on it than most. As far as like a basic to advanced system, I wouldn't say, oh, you immediately jump off HomeKit onto something else. There may be a way that you can do what you want to do with HomeKit that is reliable and works. But if you bog down your system with tons of devices and it doesn't work, that could be a problem.
Yeah, and that's what I started running into as well. Is you start having a lot of devices, and I don't know if it's still the same now, but back then when you opened up the Home app, it would pull all the devices for the state at that point. So I had to wait for them all to reply. And I don't know if it still does that, or, if they didn't reply in time, it would show them as offline in the home app. And that used to drive me nuts, So I still use HomeKit though. Even though I'm central on Habitat, I use Homebridge to expose my devices to HomeKit, because there are certain things in HomeKit that I still have to utilize. It's nice to be able to just use my watch, for example, to when I'm outside, to open and close my garage door, right? I don't have to pull out the phone and stuff. I just talk to my watch and it does it, right? And I still use Siri in certain situations. So I don't discount it. I just say, there's certain, you'll reach a certain point when you want so many devices. And I'm glad they're focusing actually on performance now, because that will make it that much better. And it's funny, they're looking at that now, and Matter's just around the corner, so it means that HomeKit's going to still be here for a long time, I think.
Well, and one of the things they said in the presentation was like, Apple has contributed the foundation of HomeKit to be the foundation of Matter, and it's like, okay, did it? I mean, I guess technically there are some aspects of I have no idea what they did, and it may be why we have no information on what Matter actually is or does. It's like, it was born out of Apple, so of course we don't talk about it. You can't talk about that.
Google's Matter was built on Apple's platform, apparently, right?
Yeah, right. Because Engadget a couple weeks ago was like, it's Google's Matter. It's like, it doesn't really belong to anyone except, I guess, the thread group or whatever. That's kind of like the working group over the whole thing. I don't know.
Everybody owns it.
I guess everybody can lay claim to it and tell you what they're going to do with it, or what they're really not going to do with it.
And then when it fails, it's nobody's.
Yeah, it's not it must be Samsung's problem. A couple of different things popped up in this. Oh, so I guess the HomeKit app gets a new redesign, which is
nice.
It's kind of big, I think. Yeah, it looked nice from what they showed. It looked like a lot of the third-party home apps, like they had taken design cues and decisions that those third-party apps had made and they kind of integrated in. So, but that's nice. It's always nice when an app gets updated from Apple, because a lot of times they update it once a year and you don't see any more updates for a long time.
and it seemed like they focused on, a new app that can handle people with many devices now, right? Whereas it was frustrating in the past, so it was good to see that, it looks much nicer.
The home app itself has been kind of wonky and janky for a long time, and it's gotten a couple updates, but it's not great. Discoverability in it's not great. I don't know. I've not been a massive fan of it, other than like the quick control that you get out of it from like just quickly opening something up, hitting lights off, or even just yelling at Siri to do something. That's kind of nice.
Yeah, I really like the way the cameras look and how responsive they are in it. But at the same time, I also see people say, make sure you have the latest iPad, or at least a fairly new iPad, to handle all this stuff, or else it's just going to be slow.
Oh, no, my friend. Not iPads anymore, because in iOS 16, according to the fine print on Apple's website, the iPad can no longer be a hub in your system. So I guess you have to have a HomePod or a
Apple TV.
I guess Apple TV still. Yeah, I guess that's all that's left there.
Can you still use an iPhone as a home hub if you had like an old iPhone that you left at home? Not even them.
You've never been able to use that.
I thought you
as
could.
a hub. No. Just the iPad and the Apple TV and the HomePods when they came online with those. So luckily it's not terrible. Like HomePod's only $100, I think, for the little minis.
Yeah, that's not bad.
Not terrible.
Yeah, I think the only thing holding me back from HomeKit at this point is I switch hubs all the time. I think I would switch to HomeKit if they just release Android support, but I know that that's never going to happen. So just like an Android app. Like,
I think there is an Android app.
Is there one?
Oh man, it's been reverse engineered 100 different ways at this point.
Yeah, is there like an official one though?
Not an official one,
because the wife has Android. I need
probably not what you want anyway. Honestly, like the official Android app would be kind of like halfway done and just like done out of spite. I think what you want is
I don't think the Android music app was that bad though. I haven't used it since it came out though, I guess. It's probably the only update I've ever received.
Yeah. I would
HomeKit always look nice to me.
Yeah, look into it, because there's probably a HomeKit app that somebody has done for Android. I don't know how well that ties into the ecosystem, because they would have to do a lot of work to get at that database that exists with HomeKit. But
sorry, the first comment is switch to Home Assistant. So
there you go. It's always Home Assistant, all the way down the rabbit hole. Another interesting thing that is popped up inside of documents that Apple doesn't tell you about is that Apple has added offline voice control for HomeKit to Siri. So that's kind of nice. It doesn't need to go out to the web to do basic commands, kind of like what we were talking about with the Sonos earlier. You just yell at it to turn on a light in the room, and it's faster if it doesn't have to make a round trip to some server, do some processing, and come back and issue that command. So that's nice. No more iPad hubs in the house as of iOS 16, and HomePods actually are getting public betas now. So if you're part of the public beta program, you can sign up to get buggy firmware for your buggy HomePod. I'm looking at my big HomePod. The little ones, from what I understand, work really rather well, but the big ones are. I just had it working today, and the audio was not in sync with what I was watching on the Apple TV. Lovely.
Audio's hard.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, it's Apple's audio. It's supposed to just work. But anyway, that's Apple in a nutshell. They did mention Thread on stage and talked about it a little bit, but I don't know. Like, I thought they were going to have a bigger push, but this isn't really the product forum. This is the software forum where they talk to developers. So maybe, we definitely are going to see a bigger push later in the year as we get closer to the holidays for shopping and that kind of thing, for IoT and Thread and that kind of thing. So should be interesting if they don't delay it again.
I don't think at this point they can delay Matter anymore.
Yeah, I don't think anybody would care anymore.
Too many people are watching at this point and waiting.
Yeah, I think TJ's right. No one would care.
Yeah, they delay it one more time. It's just dead in the water. They have to come up with a new name.
Yeah.
Call it Insteon.
Just buy Insteon. Wait,
right, well,
never mind.
Let's talk about the second major thing that no one really heard about this last week was Samsung has launched a new Home Life to make your connected home even easier. At their Bespoke Home 2022 event, Samsung revealed a brand new SmartThings Home Life. It rolls out to 97 countries later in June. SmartThings Home Life promises a more, quote, holistic smart home experience. And the service will be integrated into the existing Samsung application, SmartThings application, sorry. It provides centralized and integrated control over all your smart home devices, and it kind of reaches beyond what we would consider maybe what we consider smart home and home automation stuff for as far as the conversation we're talking about HomeKit. So this goes into 6 integration areas. SmartThings Cooking. It has SmartThings Energy, SmartThings Clothing Care, Pet Care. I'm just going to stop saying SmartThings because it's just redundant at this point. Home Care and Air Care. So interesting. If you're Samsung and you're making products, or you're an OEM partner that is integrating with the SmartThings ecosystem, and you don't fall into one of the buckets that Matter's providing automation for, how, like, for example, like washers and dryers, not supported in Matter. Okay. Samsung's a big maker of washer and dryers, and they're a big maker of like appliances, like refrigerators. Like, where do you put those things and say they're still smart devices? If they aren't supported in Matter, well, you're going to step back from Matter and make your own SmartThings Home Life product and push all the other segments that don't qualify or fall into a Matter integration into that. So, TJ, you and I were talking about this before we hit record. Like, this sounds like what we were talking about a couple weeks back when Samsung was kind of like saying that they weren't going to fully integrate with Matter, but they're going to be there with Matter, but also have Samsung stuff at the same time.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I fully don't even understand this myself, just because, and I even have a SmartThings hub, right? It's like, what are they trying to accomplish with this in total? I think I would just need to see it, like how it actually works, or how it lays out in order to fully get it. It just seems like it's just adding more complexity on top of stuff that's already complex. I don't get it.
Yeah, it is. This is further confusion. I think we've talked about this before. Like Matter is a standard, right? And if you like SmartThings Energy, like energy monitoring is not part of Matter. They did this committee that made up Matter from these companies. They don't have that written into the standard. So devices that provide energy monitoring aren't going to show up as a Matter device. There's no way to really, so how do you bring those into your home ecosystem? Well, Samsung, since they make everything and they have all these silos and part of their companies, they're just going to give you the ability to connect all this stuff together, but it'll be kind of like one layer removed and like step back from Matter. Like your Matter stuff is part of this, but also if you step out of that, you have this broader Samsung ecosystem. And you can connect your washer and dryer and your pet, like it says pet care. And like maybe there's a feeder they have, like a Samsung pet feeder, and you can feed your pets remotely with that.
And is this the next thing that's going to start happening? Are we going to have these companies fighting to be the center now? So you have Samsung, they'll import the Matter stuff, and they'll also have their own stuff, but nobody else can use their other stuff. Are we going to see that with other companies? For example, what if Wise, for example, had their little hub and all the Wise devices worked with that, all the Matter devices worked with that, but the Wise devices didn't get exposed to Matter, but you needed the Wise to be the central of your house. Like, I know they're going to screw this up somehow, and I think we're starting to see how it's going to happen.
You're going to make me talk about this Wise scale, aren't you? Like, okay, so Wise is going to do this Wise Scale X, which has 1 star as a brand new product for $33.99. And they only came out with it because I just threw a Wise scale onto my order the other day when I ordered a Wise camera.
It was so cheap, Instabuy, right?
It was $30. Yeah, exactly. So, all right. So I got the Wise scale, and now they've got this new one out. And it does everything that the old one did, but it has an X after the name. But if Wise wanted to have Wise Fitness as part of their ecosystem and they support Matter, like fitness isn't part of the Matter API, or it's not in there as a Matter. Like there's no Matter API for scales. So what is Wise to do if they want to have their own home control app like Samsung does? Well, they've got to wedge it in there somewhere, and I think this is a smart move from Samsung, a smart thing to do. Yeah, dad joke central here. But it makes sense to me more than like they've got all this stuff and they've got to put it somewhere. They've got to be able to sell it as smart devices. And if it doesn't integrate directly in with, this Matter junk that everybody's talking about, what do we do with it? Well, we make our own. Like we'll just roll our own. And if Matter doesn't want to do it, and if you don't want to go to this committee and wait for this committee to argue on how to integrate a scale for the next 2 years, let's just do it ourselves and keep rolling with that. And that may be what dooms Matter, is because it's this committee that's going to decide how to integrate a scale for 2 years before they release an API and delay it 15 times. Geez, come on. Just release this junk already.
Well, and just like you said, Samsung does have all these other product lines. And this is something, Samsung's used to experimenting or coming out with, oddball things, or what people think are oddball things. And eventually they might catch on. So
I still don't have my Home Galaxy. I'm still mad about that one. Ooh. That I want the little Bixby cauldron thing that I can. Where is it? They were gonna blow away HomePod because it looks so. Whatever. It's not gonna happen.
360 audio.
Somewhere those are gonna exist, and they're gonna be sold on eBay for like hundreds of dollars, and I'm gonna have to buy one. Like the prototype unit or whatever. They had like 40 of them on stage once, like showing them off. Those have to exist somewhere.
Well, I think it was like the Essential Company or something like that. They had a smart speaker that came out that just came up on eBay a couple days ago, or a couple weeks ago, maybe. And that was like 5 or 6 years ago at this point, it seems like. So wait another 5 years. You might have it.
Maybe see it. I don't know. Be nice, Samsung. Where's that Galaxy Home speaker thing? Want to see it?
We don't need it. Nobody needs it.
Not really. No.
It can be buried in a landfill somewhere. That's okay.
Like with the Atari. All right. Let's move on here. Samsung, thanks for confusing us. Let's move on here to something that's not so confusing. There's a report out there from Insider, which probably suggests that it's true, that Roku employees have been talking about a potential Netflix takeover for a couple weeks now. This is in response to the company's plummeting stock price as demand falls for streaming services. Insider sources remain unnamed, but apparently close to the matter. Roku declined to comment, and Netflix did not reply to or respond for a request of this information over from the Insider. So, if you ever read something in the Insider, it's probably a true rumor because they have some really good sourcing over there. This looks good to me. Roku, evidently we were talking about this in the hub while I was gone, and I saw some stories go by. Roku and Netflix used to be kind of the same one in the same company, or at least like live across the hall from each other. This kind of makes sense.
Yeah, I had no idea. Supposedly, Roku started out under Netflix. It was like an employee side project, and then eventually they spun it off because they didn't want to, step on any streaming competitor toes or streaming device toes, I guess I should say. And I guess I didn't know that, or I completely forgot about it. But that would be funny if they just come around again and they're the same company again. Makes a total sense though. Roku's been going for the ad supported streaming services recently. Netflix does not have a free option. Why not bolster their numbers with some freemium content?
Yeah, exactly. It's interesting. I'm looking at Wikipedia because I couldn't remember. Anthony Wood, previously founder of Replay TV, so he was one of the founders of Roku. And this was founded back in 2002, so really early on. Really before streaming was even a thing. Like we were still exchanging envelopes, right? Netflix was not, there was no net in Netflix. It was Mailflix. Like you'd have to mail your CDs around. I think they still do that for people who want to, but it says like Wood came over to Netflix, and in 2007 they began working on a Netflix in Netflix on a project called Griffin, which is a set-top box that allowed Netflix to stream content to their TVs. And Reed Hastings, the Netflix founder, decided it would hamper arrangements with third parties. So yeah, like you're saying, and that makes sense because like back then Netflix was like, I had a Nintendo Wii and it had Netflix on it. Like Netflix was everywhere. They were just trying to be everywhere with and they probably, if they had their own device that worked better than everything else, they probably would have had a hard time signing up an agreement with, the Wii with Nintendo. So, I don't know. The only thing like here that I'm like, oh no, like this could be potentially bad would be for BrightSign, which is a division of Roku. And I really like that for a digital signage product. And I really hope that it survives an acquisition, like, because it's literally the same hardware, the same APIs and everything. And I really hope that they are able to do something with it because I like that product. It's really good for digital signage.
Yeah, I had no idea BrightSign was even owned by Roku until you brought that up. It's hilarious though, because they are the same color and everything. So, yep,
it's a Roku company. It has been for a long time. Just kind of their commercial side as they go. Gavin, do you have any Rokus?
I think I have a Roku TV in the basement. Yeah. And I have Netflix and everything on it anyway. So them buying it, I'm not sure. I'm not sure what they're thinking. And would it hurt agreements with other people if they now own Roku?
I don't think at this point it matters. Like,
I don't think anybody cares.
Yeah, no one would care if, like, same thing with Apple TV. Like Apple TV's everywhere. It's and they have their own Apple TV product. So
the only person that cares at this point is Google. They remove their stuff at will though. So
right, they'll just get in an argument with them. Yeah, it would be YouTube would be missing from the Netflix Roku player or whatever. Yeah, exactly. I will say that I have one of these little Roku devices as part of my travel tech. Because it's like the remote is bigger than the device itself. It's like this big. It powers with USB, and there's usually a USB power port on the TV. Now, the TV that I actually plugged this into this week did not have USB. It was old, seriously old, so old that it had a SCART connection on it. I don't know if you guys know about SCART, SCART. Have you ever seen one of those? It's a British thing.
Wait, did your Roku have or your TV have HDMI?
It did have an HDMI.
It had HDMI, but it also had a SCART connector.
It has a SCART connector. Yeah, SCART. It's a 21 pin connector. I'd say it's probably like the S video of for the British for the UK, I guess.
That is huge.
It's massive, and it was plugged into a DVD player. So I'm like, I have no idea how old any of this stuff was. But the Netflix worked without a hitch. I just plugged it into a power adapter that I had for charging phones or whatever, and it worked fine. So yeah, big connector. It's like a printer connector if you're looking at the thing.
Yeah, it reminds me of like an old serial or parallel port.
Yeah, I looked at it and I'm like, that can't be a SCART connector. Like it just, I can't be living in this in 2022 and actually see a TV with a SCART. No, it's got it on there. Crazy.
And for $850 off Amazon, you can buy a SCART to composite and S video adapter. So if you ever need that, it's there for you.
Does it do HDR?
It does not. I didn't even look at the description.
It does. So inside of one connector, it has composite, RGB, S video, and that's it. Does it have audio in? Yeah,
you say one. You say one connector, like it's not like an inch wide.
I mean, it's a big connector. It's got audio right, left.
It's like we're talking about like 3.5 millimeter.
Yeah, it's got some voltages on it for status and aspect ratio up and down. So there's clock data. There's all sorts of pins on here that could be good for more advanced things, but this is not an advanced connector. I'm glad we don't use these. I don't know. Well, we're saying this now, and somebody over in the UK who's used these for years, like, no, SCART was great. Here's why. And they'll give us
it's better than HDMI.
Yeah, well, I mean, it probably is better than HDMI.
Everything is.
You could probably field terminate these things somehow, and fix issues, and yeah, like the only thing with HDMI is like
you can field terminate that with enough dedication.
Right. Well, the way you field terminate HDMI is go and cut the ends off and then terminate with a Cat 5 and then put a balun on it. And then you're good to go. There's a tech tip for you if you ever cut an HDMI. Anyway, let's move on from this. SCART. What were we talking about? Roku, and then I got off on this SCART connector. So anyway, moving on to the graveyard here. Meta, this had me crying while I was gone. You guys posted this, and I was like, just ruined my trip. But Meta, I'm just gonna call it Facebook because it's not Meta. Who cares? They're no longer gonna release Portal devices for consumers. They're discontinuing the line. I'm not gonna be able to walk in Best Buy and see dusty boxes of Portal sitting there on the floor. So this is according to the Information and Variety. The company is reportedly repositioning the smart display and home video line as a business product and will be discontinuing consumer versions. Variety says that Facebook will, and I'm not calling it Meta because it's stupid, will sell all the remaining inventory previously released models and will continue providing support for existing customers. That's good because they're not like completely turning the servers off anyway. It's just going to focus on the business applications for future releases. I think this is a really good move because this is out of the pandemic when people were trying to figure out how to use Zoom. It turned out the best like drop in place Zoom device was this Facebook Portal thing. And nobody wanted to use it because it had Facebook written on it. But I think if they reposition it as a business and start using it for business use cases for this, I think it'll do really well in that marketplace because all you need to do to have a video conference with somebody is drop this device in, connect it to Wi-Fi, launch Zoom, and you're good to go. Or Skype or whatever. The microphones are great in it. The cameras are great in it. They make you look good. They follow you around. They focus on you correctly. The video display was good, and it was just a home run as far as a drop in place conferencing device, and that's kind of what it was designed around to be. Just turns out it was better for business and video conferencing for that than it was for anything else. So I think this is pretty cool. This is a pretty cool move by them, and sad to not be able to see them go. And I'll probably have to unfortunately purchase one now and put it over there in the graveyard because I've been talking about it for many years. But I expect they'll be cheap on eBay. should be able to pick one up because they're just on the floor gathering dust in someone's house, and they'll be like, I need to get rid of this thing. Maybe I'll find one at Goodwill.
Nobody even knows they exist. So,
oh man. So they were, according to the IDC research firm, Matus sold 600,000 portable devices in 2020 and 800 in 2021. So that would have been their good years when people were saying buy these things for video conferencing with the family. That's nothing. That's a drop in the bucket for a consumer product. That's $500,000 for your product line. Oh, that's not good numbers. That's bad.
Reminiscent of the Facebook phone of yesteryear too. Facebook does not have a good success rate with hardware.
Nope, they do not. Well, it's a creepy company, and I really don't want to support them, other than saying this is actually a good product for video conferencing. If you needed to like hand it off to somebody who just needed to have a good look and do their thing, like it worked. All right, well, under the dark of night, I'm going to set this up because I wrote a whole story along with this. And with little fanfare, the super secret home technology company, Insteon, posted on their website that the company's back and under new management. This is really how all this went down. So scouts patrolling the Darklands actually reported seeing an elusive message in the form of 2 sticks of hemlock next to a stag last week. All right. They quickly began lighting signal fires along the ancient border wall, as is customary in these times. Once the signal fires reached the city, the large bell near Solomon's Tower started ringing day and night, which alerted nearby scribes to make those writings and post them on neighborhood bulletin boards for the casual passerby to see. The city governor finally sent a message up to the king so that all would know in the whole kingdom that the great Insteon was alive yet again. That's my story, and I really don't know why people say this company has problems communicating with users and the public. I mean, just that everybody should know, right? Like Insteon's back. That's what they did. I don't understand. Like this is crazy. So I guess Insteon's back, guys. Again, they're under new management. It's a whole new day for the company that shut down on Easter weekend.
Abruptly too.
Yeah. Does not tell anybody.
Why doesn't our stuff work anymore?
Gosh, this company is something else. And I don't like, to me, the first order of business maybe to hire like a decent PR firm to do some damage control, but then they may not have enough money. They may, like, it sounds like they have bigger problems than that. I don't know. I don't know what shape the company is in. And like, it's hard for me to say, I like what they did. I like their products. I've always liked them, but I can't recommend this to anyone based on how they communicate out to out to the world. Like, this is horrible. This is bad. Like, this is not exciting. And we've got to, I mean, it's going to be like a wait and see. Like, the company clearly needs people to order their product to survive, right? Everybody should be on wait and see if this thing dies in a year. Like, that's what everybody's going to be doing. Like, that's not good for the company either. Like, the best thing they can do is start communicating. You know what this company needs to do? They need to hire, basically, like, take over. What is that company, Gavin? Not Zoo. Is it Zoos? No, the one that's like just
Innovelli.
Innovelli. That's the one. Yeah.
Yes.
Wow.
They need to hire those guys to just
there you go.
dump all of their information online and just say, here's how much we owe people. like they.
This is what we're working with. This is the challenges we have, but we're alive and we're here for the long haul. Yeah. Innovelli's great at like communicating with their community.
I think, honestly, that's the only way. And it sounds like it's Ken Fairbanks was a previous vice president of the company. He's the one who announced publicly that a, quote, group of passionate Insteon users has acquired Insteon. I don't know if that type of management is going to be the management that comes forward and says, here's all our problems on the table, like Innovelli would. It doesn't, this just doesn't seem like there's going to be a good path forward for the company. Now, they did announce, I saw that they did announce there's going to be a $40 a year charge for the servers that were turned offline. So basically, if you want that remote connectivity for your Insteon devices, you probably need to pay that $40. That's not a big ask, I don't think. Like it was free. We went out of business and now it's $40 a year. Like you either pay the $40 a year or your company goes out of business, nothing works again. So like it's better than going out of business, right? Like $40 is not that much. I don't think that's a big ask to keep those servers running, but man, what like they should be talking about like how much their AWS bill is going to be like, and just putting everything in front of people so they understand that running a smart home company isn't just like free because this is crazy. I don't know what to think about this. I wouldn't recommend Insteon to my worst enemy right now. And I say that knowing that the product is good and it works well, but holy cow, this is just one unforced error after another. It's kind of ridiculous.
Yeah, I think just like what you were saying, they really need to come out up front and just be honest about everything and tell us what their intentions are. If they just did that right off the bat, I'd probably trust them a little more off the front. I'm not going to run out to purchase them just because I don't have any use for them at this moment. But I could still see it as a viable option for people that want a little bit of nicer home automation system. Insteon, technology and the products are very nice. There's no reason not to recommend the hardware. But if the company's not going to exist, last week or in a year, then there's no point in buying them. You might as well go with something that's a little tried and true, unfortunately, like Zigbee or Z-Wave, or you can wait another couple of years for Matter to come out. So,
and there's another big thing. Like this is the company that has like never really supported HomeKit. I don't think they claimed they were going to have a hub that did, and they never did. And I know that's kind of an expensive and long process, but you're a lighting control company. Like, just do it. Like Lutron Caseta is only Lutron Caseta because it has HomeKit compatibility. Like no one would have cared that line existed outside of like a few, integrators if they didn't add in that HomeKit compatibility. I don't understand why. I don't know. Like I agree. They need to put everything on the table. This is our roadmap. This is where we're going to be. We need to do this and this. These are our challenges. We're clearly in debt. We clearly can't buy product. Like even if we wanted to make it, that's what I think. Like if you've got this product that like you can't even make, like focus on the software a little bit. Get the HomeKit released. Like get something that you can get done, and then start worrying about like how to get the products that you have out there. I don't know.
I think new hardware is a little far off, just because I think Richard brought it up the other day. They've kind of had problems, getting product in stock even before COVID.
Yeah.
So I mean, it sounds like this has been a problem for many years already. The supply chain's probably already dried up for them, so they might not be able to get new devices for quite some time.
Yeah, I'm looking on Reddit, and there's like posts on here. Like there's one that's like roadmap ? It's like, when can we expect to have a roadmap? And the first reply is like, be patient, give them a chance. It's like, no. If you're gonna post like this blog post that they have on here is pathetic. I mean, I'm sorry, it's pathetic. It says it's a new day at Insteon, and we're dedicated, a group of passionate, blah 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 blah. Like there's probably 150 words here at the most, and it's fluff. I'm sorry. You're not telling me what you're going to do to help this company survive in a year. And if I'm going to spend money on my house and putting in product that other people in my house are going to use and wonder why I spent thousands of dollars to have something that didn't work. Like, no, you guys need to come out with more and tell me more how this is going to work. Cause I'm not impressed with what I see now, I guess is what I'm saying. I'm not running a multi-million-dollar company either, but I don't know what they're doing, multi-thousand-dollar company now, but like you would think that they would have multi-million dollars in sales every year of their product. But like at the same time, like they need to change how they were doing business. And I don't know Ken Fairbanks. I don't know, he says he's CEO of Insteon Technologies, which is the company that purchased Insteon. I don't know him. from anybody else, but if they're going to just continue doing what they were doing, that didn't work.
Lights out.
Yeah, lights out again for the third time for Insteon. Anyway, let's move on. I can bash this company all night long. I do like what they have, but I will continue bashing this. This is just bad messaging. They need to do better. Do better, Insteon. There you go. All right. Well, all the links and topics we discussed tonight can be found on our show notes at HomeTech.fm/391. It's less than $3.99, which is what it was last week or last time. Whoops. All right. Let's open up the mailbag for the first time in a while. I had some Twitter feedback about a discussion we had about measuring AQI, and I did briefly think of this while we were talking about this, but didn't really know. I don't really know how bad it is, but listener Just Me over on Twitter reached out and reminded me that that many, I'll just quote him here, many of us on the West Coast have learned to check AQI regularly during fire season. I have an indoor sensors and also a purple air outdoor sensors. So yeah, that makes a lot of sense for fire season when you have all those fires going on out west. Having those organic compound or air quality sensors and indicators in there, it's a good thing to have. He goes on, it's kind of like a little thread, a reply that he made. It's something that most don't think about unless you see the AQI go over 100. We have multiple air cleaners now, and I purchased 2 of the wildfire smoke ones this spring. So yeah, if you're in one of those areas that is prone to fire and fire issues, obviously not an issue here in Florida where we're prone to rain in various ways. But yeah, the Ecobee thermostat and all the other, the dead canary thing that we were talking about may be a good product for you.
But no, this made sense. It made me think too, because isn't it in Hong Kong, or not Hong Kong, but in China, they also have issues with air quality. This would be great for there. In Canada, we have a place called Hamilton. Hamilton seems to be coming up a lot in the podcast, but we always want to know our air quality out there for some reason. So yeah, it's good use. There are good use cases for it, and I can see why it's getting more popular.
Yeah, what's funny is when I was flying on Canada Air, right? This is the
Air Canada.
Yeah. There was a map, like in-flight map, that popped up, and it would cycle through, and one of the locations was Hamilton, and I would die laughing, but then I'd realize quickly it wasn't talking about Hamilton in Canada. It was one of the islands. City in the island. So it's like, oh, but it was funny because every time I looked at it, I'm like, oh, we must be close, but no, we weren't. We were still over the ocean. Anyway, fun stuff there. Thanks so much, Just Me, for the follow up there. And yeah, air quality is an issue for some. Maybe we need. I guess we already have water sensors, rain detection sensors. There's some pretty good weather sensors out there. That's all I would need. All right, let's move on here. We got a pick of the week. Gavin, this is all for you and your record collection. IKEA is announcing a record player, and it might actually, it says, quote here, it might actually make it to the stores this time. It's designed in collaboration with Swedish House Mafia. Looks pretty sweet. The only thing I don't see that it has the new Obergesad collection. It doesn't have Sonos integration, which it really should have. Has USB, powered by USB, and features a replaceable cartridge and needle. Built-in preamp, and works with the NB Bluetooth speakers. So that's a miss, I think. They should have the Sonos stuff built into this thing.
Genius idea, but I don't see Sonos going along with that. I think they're pretty happy with you buying a $450 accessory or a $500 speaker.
And you could still tie it into the Sonos. If you get a Sonos 5, you wire it into that, it will work that way. But I was hoping it would be wirelessly, we could just add this to our Sonos setup, and it would stream it to our Sonos system without the need for a Sonos 5. But nope. I understand why not, but it was a nice to, dream.
If we can't get Sonos headphones, we can't get this. Dang it.
What if they come out with this before Sonos headphones?
Oh my gosh.
This is funny. So this is interesting. I guess they teamed up with Teenage Engineering, which they do a bunch of things.
Nice things too.
Yeah, super
That
nice
was great.
things. Before, and that collaboration never finished, I guess. So hopefully we'll see this one land.
Yeah, and Teenage Engineering, whenever they're asked about that, they always say, "Well, you should ask IKEA." So who knows what happened there?
Must be some bad blood or something like that. But yeah, it was the Frekvens collection that of designer audio products, I guess. I don't know, I guess sound and controlled lights. Yeah. Would have been cool because they do some really good. They do a really good job on everything. In fact, I got one of those Playdate things coming in one of these days. But they were worked in collaboration with, what is it, Panic, I guess, that made that one. So it should be interesting to get my hands on it and see what that design firm does. But I do like everything that they put together. So anyway, hopefully we see one of these things, Gavin, and you can test it out and see how well it works.
I don't know. I don't know if I'd be replacing my turntables. Mine are probably like 30 years old now, the Techniques, but they're solid.
Then you need a new one. You need a new one.
They're
Look
solid.
at this thing.
They're still top of the line. They still can't be beat. I'm afraid to touch this one. It looks like it will break.
It does look frail. I will give you that. And another thing I don't like is the preamps coming out the side. It's kind of weird, huh? Like you'll have cables
put it on the
showing.
back.
Yeah, come on.
What the heck?
Collaborate with somebody besides Swedish House Mafia because they don't know how to design.
This is why Teenage Engineering never materialized. They actually wanted to put it on the back, and IKEA was like, "No, it's going on the side."
Well, a lot of DJs know you turn the turntable a certain way anyway. So technically, for a DJ like Swedish House Mafia, that would be on the back.
It's right there, and then it's right there in the
genius.
name. You turn the turntable.
There you
Hey. Just don't look at it too long.
Right.
This is not going in Richard's house. I can tell you that.
Oh man, probably not. Probably not. All right, well, let's move on here. If you have any feedback, questions, comments, picks of the week, or great ideas for a show, give us a shout. Our email address is feedback@HomeTech.fm, or you can visit HomeTech.fm/feedback and fill out that online form. All right, well, that wraps up another week here. I got some British complaints here. We already talked about the thumbs down on the internet. We're
about to upset some people, I guess.
Yeah. Well, I will say British plugs. They're massive. Like they're freakishly massive. Like ridiculously oversized outlet plug things. But from what I have seen online, like they're easy to repair. Like and they're like made for safety. So I understand why they work really well. Like they have long like plug things. Like we have these little nub things, and if you plug a plug in, it sometimes just falls out the wall. Theirs are long enough. There's 3 of them. You plug it in, the thing's not coming out the wall. It's great. But one of the things I noticed that they had, and I guess I didn't notice they had it last time I was there, where they have switches on their outlets. So if you want to turn off an outlet, you just flip the switch right there on the outlet. It turns it off. It's brilliant. I never knew how handy that would be. And now I want outlets with switches on them but there's no room on the little ones we have with the guy, like the little person, like, oh no, those outlets. We don't have room on those. So I really like these. I wish that I wish we had something like that on our outlets. It was great. Good stuff. I like that. Things I didn't like, and it was, why do they have the taps on the 2 sides? I go to shave in the morning and I turn on the water, and it's like, okay, there's a hot water spigot, there's a cold water spigot. You turn on the cold water, it comes from a glacier. It's freezing. You can't touch it. You physically cannot touch it. It's so cold. Hot water, it comes from hell itself. It's on fire. I cannot express to you how hot the water, like it's scaldingly hot. It's McDonald's coffee level hot. You can't touch it either. So what you have to do is like freeze your hands real fast and then move it over and burn your hands real fast. And that'll numb your nerves fast enough for a few seconds that you can actually mix warm water within your hands. And that's the only way I could figure out how to shave I don't understand why it's 2022 and they have there's some articles and things people posted in the hub, because we talked about this a little bit, like, oh, it has it because the drinky water came out of the cold one. That was good drinky water, but the hot water could have had dead rats in it, and so that was the hot. No, it's 2022. You people have plumbers. Stop this madness. Like, this was a brand new bathroom. I don't get it. I don't understand. It just needs to stop. This should be illegal. This should be illegal. Anybody over there in UK, don't do this. This is bad. It's not just crazy Americans complaining about this. You can't freeze yourself or burn yourself when trying to use. I mean, what are you supposed to do? You don't get in the shower and have two spigots and have to stand in the middle. No, that wouldn't make any sense at all. Anyway, that's my rant. And also Toronto airport. I'm in Canada. I can buy maple syrup. Gavin, this is for you. This is for you, Gavin. I can buy maple syrup in the airport. I can buy a Canada shirt, a bright red shirt. This is Canada. There's no Tim Hortons in the entire international terminal. I walked the whole length of it. Starbucks is there. No Tim Hortons. I can't buy the Great Canadian Coffee and donuts. I can't. Why? It's just, none of this makes sense. The two spigot thing doesn't make sense. The no coffee. I was so upset. I really wanted that Tim Hortons coffee. Gavin, this is all your fault.
So you were in Terminal 1, right?
Yep. You're looking it up now.
No. I just messaged my friend who works for Air Canada, and I said, "Is there Timmy's in Terminal 1?" And he says, "Yes, there is."
What?
So basically, he said there is. So you obviously, when there's in the terminal, there will be two long lines. One is for security, and one is for Tim Hortons. Right? You stood in the wrong line. That's all it came down to.
I was there twice, and we walked from end to end in that thing, and I did not see a Tim Hortons. And
he says there's multiple in Terminal 1. There's multiple. If you see a lineup of Air Canada employees, they're not going to work. They're in the Tim Hortons line.
I must be in like a segregated area for American travelers that don't know how to wear masks properly, because all of Canada still requires masks, but it was funny because Americans still refuse to wear them properly. Like, there were tons of chin diapers and everything. It was great. I was like, we are just protesting. We are just protesting at this point. So
yeah, our mask mandates got lifted last weekend. So now you don't have to wear them anywhere. You're not forced to anymore.
Funny thing, getting back into the U.S. requires you to get as we began this trip, required you to get a full screening, like the PCR rapid test, right? So there's like companies set up in these international airports to do this, so you can get back into the U.S. and they charge you quite a bit. We pay like $300 to have our tests done. That was lifted on 12:01 a.m. on the 12th, and our flight was 10 a.m. on the 12th. So we didn't even have to do the test, and we paid $300 for it. And we were just like, no, we're not going to go to the airport to do this stupid test the day before, because it's 24 hours. You can't take it 40 hours. 24 hours in advance. So yeah, we lost $300 on that. I'm pretty sure. No, they haven't.
Wow.
We asked for the refund, but all we got back was a message of, due to an unexpected policy change, our email is flooded. Please wait to get back to, and we haven't heard anything from that company. So I doubt we're going to see it back. Too bad.
Wow. And you know what? Just for reference in the future, if you're in the International Terminal 1, Air Canada, Tim Hortons is by E80. I'm just letting you know.
I got to say,
for next time, by E80. I got the inside scoop. There's multiple, but just go E80.
What is this? Y by R? Is that what it is?
YYZ.
YYZ.
Were you looking at the wrong maps when you were looking for Timmy's?
No, I was literally there. I didn't have to look at a map. I just walked the whole thing that I had access to. I just don't think that I had full access to Terminal 1. There's no way that I
His actual response was, "Poor guy."
Yeah, man. It's pretty sad. Oh, you know what?
Just like Linus, blaming somebody else for your problems.
Yeah, right. It looks like there's multiple levels for Terminal 1, though. And I think I was on...
Did you not go upstairs or
I gotta
downstairs?
go upstairs.
No. I was there. I mean, it was a confusing airport for sure, but I don't think that... I think we were just like... There was a Starbucks and there was like a panini pizza place that was closed, and then a place that sold bread, sandwich place, something crust. I don't remember. Anyway, I don't think they did have a really cool sculpture in the middle that you could go in and yell in, and it would echo like around, like you could hear somebody whispering in the middle. Like my daughter and I played in that for quite a bit, but I didn't find any Tim Hortons coffee.
Okay, next time you come through Canada, just make
I'm gonna
stay over a little longer.
Yeah, I'll call you and you send a text to your buddy, come meet me in the airport and show me where this magical Tim Hortons is.
You gotta knock 3 times on the door next to the bathroom.
Yeah,
some guy will bring it to you.
Yeah, it's a secret. Only Canadians can see it.
It's only Gavin's friend that brings it to you.
We send the Americans to Starbucks because we figured that's what you want.
Yeah,
you know?
exactly.
It's like
if you walk to the back of the Starbucks and knock on the panel 3 times, it'll open it up into the actual.
You know
Tim
what?
Hortons.
If you went into Starbucks and asked them where Tim Hortons was, they'll tell you where to go.
That would be funny. I should have done that. Oh, it's too good. That's too good. Oh well, next time we go to up to Toronto, I'll have to poke around. I've got to find this on the map now. There's no way I missed it because we were there long enough and walked around long enough, and I went from one end to the other, like where I had access to, and I don't think that either the doors were closed or I just didn't have access to where the Tim Hortons were. Or it's like I said, magical, and it's like the gold pot at the end of the rainbow. I can see it, but I just can't get to it. Is essentially what it was. Just a mirage. You guys messing with me. Wanted that coffee. Wanted some donuts. Anyway, that wraps up this week in Home Tech News. Thanks everybody for listening. We want to give a big thank you and shout out for everybody who supports the shows, but especially for everyone who are able to financially support the show through our Patreon page. If you don't know about our Patreon page, head on over to HomeTech.fm/support to learn how you can support HomeTech for as little as $1 a month. Any pledge over $5 a month gets you a big shout out on the show, but every pledge gets you an invite to our private Slack chat, The Hub, where you and other supporters of the show can gather every day to find out where the Tim Hortons is in Terminal 1 of Toronto's
E80.
airport there. if it doesn't exist, if you want to help the show out financially but can't support the show, totally understand. We just appreciate a 5-star review or positive rating in the podcast app of your choice. That wraps up another week in Home Tech. From everyone here, have a great weekend, and we will see you next week.
Take care.
See y'all.